We are a nation of immigrants. We are adopted by immigrants. Do you think for a second that simply because somebody's standing in a broken queue on naturalization, they're not going to go to the hospital, and that care isn't going to fall onto our insurance rates? I am for a generous, compassionate America that says we're all in this together. We need comprehensive immigration reform. It'll make wages go up in America, $250 for every year.
Senator Webb, do you support the undocumented immigrants getting Obamacare?
I wouldn't have a problem with that. Let me start by saying my wife is an immigrant. She was a refugee. Her family escaped from Vietnam on a boat, her entire extended family, after the communists took over, when hundreds of thousands of people were out there, thousands of them were dying. She went to 2 refugee camps. She never spoke English in her home, and she ended up, as I said, graduating from Cornell Law School. That's not only the American dream, that's the value that we have with a good immigration system in place. No country is a country without defining its borders. We need to resolve this issue. I actually introduced an amendment in the 2007 immigration bill giving a pathway to citizenship to those people who had come here and put down their roots and met a series of standards. We lost, but I introduced that in 2007. So we need a comprehensive reform, and we need to be able to define our borders.
I want to follow up, because I think underneath Juan Carlos's important question, there is such a difference between everything you're hearing here on this stage and what we hear from the Republicans who have demonized hardworking immigrants, who have insulted them. You know, I came to Las Vegas in, I think, early May, met with a group of dreamers. I wish everybody in America could meet with these young people, to hear their stories, to know their incredible talents, their determination. And that's why I would go further than even the executive orders that President Obama has signed when I'm president.
Secretary Clinton, let me ask you, 2 of your rivals from your left, Governor O'Malley and Senator Sanders, want to provide in-state college tuition to undocumented immigrants. Where do you stand on that?
My plan would support any state that takes that position and would work with those states to do the same thing.
And Obamacare! That undocumented immigrants should get in-state college tuition.
If their states agree, then we want more states to do the same.
Governor O'Malley?
Anderson, we actually did this in my state of Maryland. We passed a state version of the agreement. And a lot of the xenophobes, the immigrant haters, like some that we've heard, like Donald Trump, that carnival barker in the Republican Party, tried to mischaracterize it as free tuition for illegal immigrants. But we took our case to the people when it was petitioned to referendum, and we won with 58% of the vote. The more our children learn, the more they will earn, and that's true of children who have yet to be naturalized, but will become Americans.
Senator Sanders, you talked about your record on the Veterans Affairs Committee. You served on that committee for the last 8 years, including 2 years as its chairman, while veterans died waiting for health care. You and Senator McCain ultimately addressed the issue with bipartisan legislation. Why did it take 18 Inspector General reports and a CNN investigation and others before you and your colleagues took action?
Well, I was chairman for 2 years. And when I was chairman, we did take action. What we did is pass a $15 billion piece of legislation, which brought in many, many new doctors and nurses into the VA so that veterans in this country could get the health care when they needed it and not be on long waiting lines. And the other part of that legislation said that if a veteran is living more than 40 miles away from a VA facility, that veteran could get health care from a community health center or the private sector. As a result of that legislation, we went further than any time in recent history in improving health care for the men and women of this country who put their lives on the line to defend us.
Governor Chasey, you and Hillary Clinton both voted for the Patriot Act, which created the NSA surveillance program. You've emphasized civil liberties, privacy during your campaign. Aren't these two things in conflict?
No, that was another 99-to-1 vote for the Patriot Act, and it was seen as, at the time, modernizing our ability to do what we've always done, to tap phones, which always required a warrant. And
you voted for that?
Now, no. As long as you're getting a warrant, I believe that under the Fourth Amendment, you should be able to do surveillance, but you need a warrant. That's what the Fourth Amendment says. And in the Patriot Act, Section 215 started to get broadened too far. So I would be in favor of addressing and reforming Section 215 of the Patriot Act.
Secretary Clinton, do you regret your vote on the Patriot Act?
No, I don't. I think it was necessary to make sure we were able, after 9/11, to put in place the security that we needed. And it is true that it did require that there be a process. What happened, however, is that the Bush administration began to chip away at that process, and I began to speak out about their use of warrantless surveillance and the other behaviors.
That's what they did.
And we always have to keep the balance of civil liberties, privacy, and security. It's not easy in a democracy, but we have to keep it in mind.
Senator Sanders, you're the only one on this stage who voted against the Patriot Act. And the reauthorization. Let me ask you, if elected, would you shut down the NSA surveillance program? I'm sorry? Would you shut down the NSA surveillance program? Of course. You would.
Well, I shut down. Shut down what exists right now is that virtually every telephone call in this country ends up in a file at the NSA. That is unacceptable to me.
Right.
And it's not just government surveillance.
Nice.
I think the government is involved in our emails, is involved in our websites.
Yeah.
Corporate America is doing it as well. If we are a free country, we have the right to be free.
Right.
Yes, we have to defend ourselves against terrorism, but there are ways to do that without impinging on our constitutional rights and our privacy.
Governor Casey, Edward Snowden, is he a traitor or a hero?
No, I would bring him home. The courts have ruled that what he did was say the American government was acting illegally. That's what the federal courts have said. What Snowden did showed that the American government was acting illegally for the Fourth Amendment. So I would bring him home. Yes.
He broke the laws of the United States. He could have been a whistleblower. He could have gotten all of the protections of being a whistleblower. He could have raised all the issues that he has raised.
Snowden is a
And
hero.
there would have been a positive response to that. In addition, he stole very important information that has unfortunately fallen into a lot of the wrong hands.
Governor O'Malley?
I don't think he should be brought home without facing the music.
Governor O'Malley, Snowden.
Anderson, Snowden put a lot of Americans' lives at risk. Snowden broke the law.
Whistleblower.
Oh, boo! Fucking Maryland, your fucking Baltimore riots.
If he really believes that, he should be back here.
Senator Sanders? Edward Snowden.
I think Snowden played a very important role in educating the American people
Yeah!
to the degree in
You know I'm talking the truth!
and our constitutional rights are being undermined.
Is he a hero?
He did break the law, and I think there should be a penalty to that. But I think what he did in educating us should be taken into consideration before he is
Senator Webb? Edward Snowden.
He's a hero.
I would leave
Just saying.
this ultimate judgment to the legal system.
Oh, you pussy.
We have a serious
Everyone,
problem
you
in
pussy.
terms of the collection of personal
Oh, and the first guy said it right.
And one of the things that I did during the FISA bill in 2007, the Foreign Intelligence...
Edward Snowden's a fucking hero.
...introduced with Russ Feingold.
Just like,
basically saying...
that one kid you fucking threw in the fucking prison.
...collect this broad
War criminal, uncovered war crimes, Chelsea, Manny.
...to destroy the personal information that you have if people have not been...
He gave it to the American people and the American journalists. What the fuck is the crime? The government against the fucking people?
...information that is right for people with bad intentions to be able to use, and that is to be destroyed.
Another question for each of you, starting with Governor Casey. Name the one thing, the one way that your administration would not be a third term of President Obama.
Certainly ending the wars.
Yeah!
We have to have a new dynamic.
Lincoln Casey's coming up with some good fucking
spent
shit.
$500 million arming and training soldiers, the rebel soldiers in Syria. They quickly joined the other side.
In the war.
Right now, he's suggesting keeping troops in Afghanistan
In the
after
war.
the time you wanted them pulled out. Would you
I'd
keep
like to
them there?
finish my question, my answer. And also, we just bombed a hospital. We've had drone strikes that hit civilian weddings. So I would change our approach to the Middle East. We need a new paradigm in the Middle East.
Governor O'Malley, how would you be different than President Obama's administration?
I would follow through on the promise that the American people thought we made as Democratic Party to protect the Main Street economy from recklessness on Wall Street. I would push to separate out these too big to jail, too big to fail banks, and put in place Glass-Steagall, a modern Glass-Steagall that creates place a firewall so that this wreckage of our economy can never happen again.
Secretary Clinton, how would you not be a third term of President Obama?
Well, I think that's pretty obvious. I think being the first woman president would be quite a change from the presidents we've had up until this point, including...
So you have a vagina. Oh, good job. Congratulations.
Well, there's a lot that I would like to do to build on the...
I would be different than Obama because I
but
wouldn't
also,
have
as
a
I'm
dick.
laying out, to go beyond. And that's in my economic plans, how I would deal with the prescription drug companies, how I would deal with college, how I would deal with a full range of issues that I've been talking about throughout this campaign to go further.
Senator Sanders?
I have a lot of respect for President Obama. I've worked with him time and time again on many, many issues. But here's where I do disagree. I believe that the power of corporate America, the power of Wall Street, the power of the drug companies, the power of the corporate media is so great that the only way we really transform America and do the things that the middle class and working class desperately need is through a political revolution when millions of people begin to come together and stand up and say our government is going to work for all of us, not just a handful of billionaires.
Senator Webb, how would you not be a third term for Obama?
I got a great deal of admiration and affection for Senator Sanders.
Political revolution. I call for a political revolution.
I don't think the Congress is going to pay for a lot of this stuff. And if there would be...
The Verbs didn't even fucking read it.
My
Verbs,
administration
Vegas,
and
didn't
the
even
Obama
read it.
administration, it would be in the use of executive authority. I came up as a committee counsel in the Congress, used to put dozens of bills through the House floor every year as a committee counsel in the Veterans Committee. I have a very strong feeling about how our federal system works and how we need to lead and energize the congressional process instead of allowing these divisions to continue to paralyze what we're doing. So I would lead working with both parties in the Congress and working through them in the traditional way that our Constitution
Senator Sanders, he cited you. You don't hear a lot of Democratic presidential candidates talking about revolution. What do you mean?
What I mean is that we need to have one of the larger voter turnouts in the world, not one of the lowest. We need to raise public consciousness. We need the American people to know what's going on in Washington in a way that today they do not know. And when people come together in a way that does not exist now and are prepared to take on the big money interests, then we can bring the kind of change we need.
Anderson, I really have talked about a revolution. What we need is a green energy revolution. We need to move America to a 100% clean electric grid by 2050.
And we want to
create 5 million jobs along the way.
And we're going to talk more about climate change in our meeting coming up.
Jump
Some of
in.
the candidates have tried marijuana, as have pretty much probably everybody in this room. Others have not. Does it influence their views on legalization? Find out that and others ahead.
We've all